Alright, in this video I want to focus on what a movie dissolve is and how the great Alfred Hitchcock movie uses dissolves as a transitional technique to go from shot to shot as part of its plot, its thematic structure, and to suggest to you how you might start to view dissolves in a more meaningful way and just have actually become a better movie viewer overall. One caveat about this video, spoilers. I'm going to spoil Vertigo. I'm going to assume you even know the entire plot, which if you've never seen the movie, you should probably just go watch it and then come back to this video. But anybody can profit from this even if they haven't seen the movie and they don't care about spoilers. So first of all, I want you to notice that Vertigo is a movie that is filled with dissolves, a specific kind of transition where one shot sort of fades or actually literally dissolves into the next shot. Of course, ordinarily in movies, the most common transition of all is a cut. One shot and then quickly, you don't even see it, cuts into the next shot. A dissolve is a more deliberate, overt, explicit transition, which gets you to notice that something between the two shots is happening. Now, Vertigo is filled with dissolves. I mean, most movies either don't have any dissolves, that may be a director's style choice or the choice for a particular movie, or a movie might have a few dissolves. And the most common way that dissolves have been used, I think, throughout movie video history is to indicate the passage of time, the long lapse of time between one shot and the next. Movies obviously have that big obstacle, which is in a 2-hour time span, how to indicate that years, decades, centuries, even minutes or hours are lapsing over the course of maybe 30 seconds. And so what does a dissolve do? So often when you dissolve from one shot to another, you're indicating that a long time has passed. That happens a lot, in fact, in Vertigo, where early in the movie, for example, the character of Scotty, played by Jimmy Stewart, is trailing a woman. This is kind of a private detective case, and she goes from one place to the next, and he's trailing her, and there are a bunch of dissolves in the sequence to show us that a long time is passing as he's on her trail and as they're touring around San Francisco. All right, that's a typical kind of dissolve, but I'm telling you, Vertigo, and I listed them all here, it's an amazing amount of dissolves. And actually, Vertigo makes use of other ways that dissolves make meaning. Another way, in fact, is to show you what a character is thinking and that a character is having a realization. So, for example, and again, we're getting to spoilers, Scotty in the movie is seeing Carlotta Valdez, a painting of her in a book, and then recognizing that Madeline, the woman he's trailing, looks a lot like her. So in this very moment in the movie, the dissolve shows you Scotty thinking of the profile shot of Madeline, putting that on top of Carlotta and making sort of a connection, a logical connection or association between the two. Literally, a dissolve does this because it's putting one image on top of another image, thereby bringing them together and associating them together. Therefore, in this particular moment, you know what Scotty is thinking through this kind of dissolve. A variation on this happens later in the movie when you get a character, it's Judy, who is showing you the past and her own memory or recollection of the past. We literally dissolve from her face onto a past recollection or her memory. And so that dissolve associates herself with what's in her mind. Therefore, a dissolve can show you the internal, thinkings, desires, memories of a character as it does in this moment. But there's something else about dissolve, particularly in this movie, that's fascinating to me, and then I already said it. It's the two images put together, one put on top of the other or behind the other, as it were, so you can see both at the same time. What else can this signify when you watch a movie? Or in the case of this movie, what else is it signifying? And so then, by the way, I have this particular question. Why does Vertigo use all of these dissolves an amazing amount? And I got to tell you, I counted these all up, and here I'm making a suggestion, not an observation. I think there are 69 dissolves in Vertigo. I might have miscounted that number, so you better check me. Someone go do the calculation. If that's a real number, I have a hard time believing that's not intentional on Hitchcock's part, who liked to make sexual jokes, including the ending of North by Northwest. I can't imagine he would do such a thing, but I might have miscounted the dissolves. Nevertheless, if there are between 65, 70, 75 dissolves in this movie, that is a lot. That's like one every 2 minutes. And so we have to ask this question, why does the movie use so many of these things? I think one answer is about the two images on top of each other. This is a movie about a male obsessed with a female. First, he's obsessed with a married woman who turns out she's not married. It's all a scam. But then later in the movie, he wants to make Judy, the ordinary woman he meets, into the image of the woman who he thinks has died. And therefore, he wants to implant his image of something onto reality. He wants to make Judy into Madeline, or remake Judy into Madeline. And so what does a dissolve do? It is planting an image on a reality, or one image on top of another. That goes along with thematic resonance of Scotty trying to make reality into what he wishes it to be in the case of Madeline / Judy. Another reason why dissolves might be used in this movie a lot, because another thematic resonance in the movie is that the past haunts the present, that the old things are coming back, even that events can recur, or old events can create the same event, doing a cycle of history kind of thing, or just a repetition in a character's life. And so here, the past imposing itself on the present is a problem, a threat. For example, and I know this is a scam, but Carlotta Valdez being a spirit inhabiting the body of Madeline, and Carlotta being an 1840s woman who had a serious crime in an episode there, that could be being repeated in the 1950s here in the movie. Or that Scotty is seeing in Judy, Madeline herself, an old woman from the past who is now long gone, coming back to sort of haunt him. That image of the past impressing itself on reality, as we've already said with dissolves, does happen, where a character remembers something, a memory, and the dissolve is from the present to the past, or vice versa. And again, with the dissolve, two things imposed on each other, the past is part of the present, an inextricable part of the present. I think it's another thing the movie's bringing up by using dissolves. A third reason this movie might use a lot of dissolves, and I kind of just mentioned it, is it wants to create a double effect, two things instead of one, and literally, again, dissolves two images, one image on top of the other. Well, the double is happening in this movie all over the place. The repetition of events, going to the San Juan Bautista Tower and then going back to it, Madeline becoming Judy, Carlotta becoming Madeline, and all kinds of other doublings in this movie. Well, what's a dissolve but a literal doubling? It's two images put together to create a double, as it were. Those are three of my suggestions for why this movie might use a lot of dissolves, and I think often is the case where the form, then the repetitive forms that a movie uses, might dovetail in or unify with the thematic elements, which is the way I'm looking at this, although that may obviously not always be the case for every movie. Last, there are a couple of great shots, in fact some of the most famous shots from this movie, and these are definite spoilers, where there's kind of a look-alike dissolve, but not really. And the two shots I have in mind about this, one is when Madeline appears in Judy's apartment. This is a case where Scotty has dressed up Judy, and she's now literally become Madeline through her hair and her makeup and her dress. And she appears out of this green haze, which is a weird, eerie color perhaps. And that she's dissolving out of that doorway in that green light into reality. Now, that's not a literal movie dissolve as in a film technique, but it looks like one. And so that's the past coming into the present in terms of Madeline reappearing in Scotty's mind in this apartment scene. As is often the case in this movie, these things recur, and I feel like these two shots are connected. The second one connected to this other shot, where here at the very end of the movie, total spoiler, the nun appears at the bell tower, which as a cause-effect knocks Judy off of the bell tower, and she dies, with another recurrence of a woman falling off the tower, and in a way Scotty being responsible for it. But that nun coming from the darkness, I feel like is a kind of dissolve, where we have this figure, a black shrouded figure, and Judy doesn't know what it is, so she's scared, coming out, and the nun, what does she symbolize? Moral guilt, it's God or something like that, the spiritual realm, morality itself, the haunting of the past, the Catholic religion. There's a bunch of stuff that the nun may symbolize here or represent, and yet she's dissolving out of the darkness, as it were. Now, again, it's not a literal movie dissolve, but in a movie that has 50, 60, 80 dissolves, this is kind of the same element. And so I feel like, that once again we have one image, somebody's image coming onto reality, or the past haunting the present, or both at the same time. So when you watch a movie and you see dissolves, look for what else they're doing besides indicating just simply the passage of time. They really are doing a lot of interesting artistic work, and I feel like this technique needs to be mined and explored more often, not just in movies, but in videos, video games, and any other video-based medium, because I think there's a lot of ways dissolves can be used in interesting ways to help or augment story, plot, character, theme, and so on. What else do you have to say about dissolves, Vertigo, the combination of the two? What do you think about this video? Let us know in the comments. Please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.